Members of the school board and superintendent. Today I would like to address the myth of learning languages causes a delay in language and/or speech. First off, I'd like to give you some food for thought and some questions. When did you first learn your world language in school? When did you first have that opportunity? Most likely that was in high school, and if you were lucky, maybe middle school. However, these are two of my favorite quotes linked to language learning. Different languages, a different vision of life. I love that quote as well as the next one. So, why is it thought that there is a delay? Well, there is limited vocabulary use in both languages. Students tend to use vocabulary from both languages while trying to speak just one. And they may not be able to process information as quickly as monolingual children can. However, let's use a different lens, the second acquisition lens, because to have another language is to have another soul, by Charlemagne. Evidence to support the different lens and the different approach. It's a part of the language acquisition process for learners to use both languages simultaneously until they are able to sort out the lexicons and grammars of each. This is not a delay. It is through practice and modeling with their parents, teachers, etc., and time, that's the most important thing, that students learn to separate the vocabulary and the grammar of each of their languages. This image here, good things take time. That's the same approach to bilingualism that I believe we should have in our school system. Here are some quotes from research. Children can learn languages simultaneously, and that the four language domains, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, can be mutually reinforcing and can overlap with positive effect, even though there might be an initial delay. Also, it is perfectly normal for bilingually developing children to lag behind monolingual children at a rate which they acquire each of their language. So, however, you should not compare monolingual learners and bilingual learners. And again, to reiterate, children can learn languages at the same time, given the right opportunities and support. What are some negative consequences of perceived delays? Well, to go back to the first question that I asked you all, was when you first learned your foreign language. Most of you, high school. This is because of a hold-off approach, because of the perceived delays that I mentioned earlier. Because school districts tend to wait until students are proficient in English, and has followed a linear approach to learning, which I mention in this quote here. Listen, then speaking, then reading, and then writing. And then once all of those things are more or less mastered in English, then we can move on to another language. Also, English-only policies for schools until high school can cause students to learn their L1 if the student is a person who does not speak English already as their native language. This can create subtractive language, which is not good, and it denies the benefits for bilingualism. What are some potential positive implications of using this different lens? More questions that I want you guys to think about. Do we want our students to appreciate sociocultural diversity? Do we want our students to be better equipped to participate in our connected 21st century world? Do we want to better help students whose native language is English and those whose native language is something else? If yes, we should change our approach. Additionally, things to think about, it increases cognitive development, bilingual education early on. There are some studies that debate that, but students do show signs of cognitive development improvements. Improved aggregate learning abilities, they develop complex linguistic functions, and bolster phonological awareness and metalinguistic functions. So, things to consider. Financially, reallocation of funds would be necessary. So that's something that the school district would have to think about heavily. The curriculum might have to be reworked, and do the benefits outlined justify the cost and the work? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the school board and the superintendent. I hope that you can see that there are many benefits to avoiding the hold off approach and introducing world languages earlier rather than later.